So a couple months back, we took a look at Lindows, the Linux distro that Microsoft famously accused of infringing on their precious Windows trademark, which ultimately resulted in them just buying out the name for $20 million in 2004. And as a result, Lindows became known as Linspire, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Because believe it or not, this OS is still around and receiving updates over 20 years later, and they even sell physical copies of it. So you already know what I had to do. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So before we get into the installation of this OS, I want to talk a little bit about its post-Lindows history because, as I mentioned in the previous episode, the original company isn't involved anymore. And they haven't been since 2008 when they were acquired by Xandros under rather odd circumstances. Apparently the company was sold without a shareholders meeting being held, meaning that the less than unanimous written consent to sell the company came as a surprise to a lot of people in the tech press. Of course, the then current CEO of Xandros said that the buyout was in Linspire's best interest and put the newly combined company in a better position to compete against rival distros like Red Hat. Interestingly, Xandros was kind of in the same zone as Linspire was, as they were both commercial distros that contained some proprietary software that eventually came to be pre-installed on some OEM computers to try and eat away at Microsoft's market share, which, I mean, we all know how well that went. But the Linspire name didn't last very long under Xandros, as just over a month later, the company announced that they were killing off the name to focus on having just one commercial distro. However, FreeSpire, a fully free and open source fork of Linspire that Xandros got along with the purchase, was going to stick around. And funnily enough, this was something Linspire originally had no involvement in, as it was created by an independent developer and then leaked online sometime in 2005. Around the same time that Linspire was working on a project with the exact same name and the exact same purpose. So the original FreeSpire's name was changed, and then the official release happened in April of 2005 with two separate editions. There was one version that kept in some proprietary codecs and drivers, and another that was fully open source. The latter of which was likely done to appease some of the more, shall we say, passionate Linux users who were very against using Linspire due to it containing closed source components. But from what I've read, they didn't take too kindly to FreeSpire either. Regardless, Xandros, who later changed their name to Bridgeways, owned both of these properties until 2018 when they sold the Linspire, FreeSpire, and even Xandros names to a company called PC Open Systems. And these guys are the present-day developers of all three distros and continue to push out new versions every so often. Now, it's worth noting that they did not acquire the code base or anything like that. They just got rights to the names, meaning that the modern-day incarnations of these distros are completely different from their original releases, except for the fact that Linspire is still a commercial product with some proprietary components. FreeSpire, on the other hand, is now completely free and open source, so they did away with that second release of it, and you can download it for free over at freespire.net. But Linspire will cost you $29.99 for the downloadable version, with support available for an additional cost, or you can get the physical copy on a USB drive, SD, or microSD card starting at $32.99, which is what I opted to get. And I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed in what showed up in the mail because this is just a boring old, unbranded USB drive inside of a blank DVD case. So you open this up, and here it is. I mean, there's no branding or a logo or anything like that on it. It's just a standard old unbranded drive, which is kind of lame. I mean, to be fair to Linspire, they did deliver. This is exactly what I ordered, but I was kind of expecting some more flair. I was kind of hoping for a getting started guide or a manual or a thank you for purchasing slip in here. So yeah, there's not really any more to say about the packaging and what you get if you purchase the physical copy, but there is a lot more to say about today's video sponsor, boot.dev. That's because they have the coolest way to teach you how to program on their learning platform that's designed to feel like a playable RPG. They have a specific focus on back-end web development in both Python and Go, with the goal of giving you programming skills to help advance your career without getting bored in the process. So as you advance through the courses, you'll be earning XP, levels, achievements, and completing quests to compete for a top spot on the global leaderboard. And they get you used to writing a ton of code, because boot.dev believes this isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. They want you to feel like you've actually learned something new, so the lessons go really in-depth on each topic. And since the whole thing is self-paced, you can take as much time as you need on each course. And if you ever happen to get stuck, they have viewable solutions available, an active Discord server where you can ask for help, and their spellbook feature, which provides a cheat sheet of links and notes that you unlock as you advance through the lessons. On top of all that, boot.dev doesn't want you to feel like you aren't getting your money's worth, so that's why they offer a 30-day no questions asked refund policy, as well as a free demo of every course before you subscribe to a membership, which you can do by clicking the link below. And if you use code MichaelMJD at checkout, you'll get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. So be sure to check them out, and huge thanks again to boot.dev for making this video possible. Alright, so we've got a fresh virtual machine created here, and we've booted off of the USB drive. Now, both Linspire and FreeSpire are based on Ubuntu, so this installation process will look pretty similar to you if you've ever installed that or another Ubuntu-based distro. And we get that same option here to try it or go straight into the installation. We're going to do that. We'll just go with English US. We're going to mostly go with the default options, although I am going to choose to install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware and additional media formats, just so we get that. And it's copy and file, so we're going to let it do its thing. And while it's doing that, I want to mention the fact that just a couple days before I started filming this video, Linspire 14 Service Pack 2 was released, which brings a newer kernel version, and it updates some of the included applications to newer versions. So this should prompt us to update to it either during the install or after it finishes the install. And what's even more interesting is it sounds like they're doing away with the FreeSpire name, because Linspire CE or Community Edition will be released in a few weeks from February 22nd, and that is going to replace FreeSpire as their free and open source distribution. So yeah, you can kind of disregard everything I said about FreeSpire earlier in this video, but I'm still going to include that because this video should go live before that change is made. But if you're watching this like months or a year into the future, just know that I guess FreeSpire is not around anymore, at least in name only. And speaking of FreeSpire, we are going to take a look at that as well in this video, because I want to do a little bit of a comparison between these two distros and show you some of the applications and things you get with Linspire that you do not get with FreeSpire, and vice versa. The version of FreeSpire we'll be taking a look at was released on December 7th, 2023, so it's over a year old at this point. It doesn't look like there have been any service packs or anything pushed out since then, but you can see how similar that these two websites look. I mean, here's the Linspire website. It's literally based on the exact same template, which, I mean, makes sense, right? These are both produced by the same company, so there's going to be a little bit of overlap in terms of design language for the website there. Yeah, for now, we're just going to let Linspire finish the installation here. It looks like we're almost done. One thing I have noticed is, unlike Ubuntu, there's no like fancy graphics or anything here on this screen that tells you all the great features about the operating system while it's installing. And that's one thing that I'm not impressed with this operating system at all so far, is its branding. You know, there's not really, doesn't seem to be a lot of effort put into that. But from what I've gathered, it sounds like the target audience probably doesn't really care about that stuff. If we go back to the Linspire blog here, just the main page, there's this post here, "Is Linspire dead?" on February 11th. Because apparently they had been receiving some questions as to whether or not Linspire was still in active development. They quickly explained that it is, and sure enough, I mean, 11 days later is when they released Service Pack 2. But they talk a little bit about the release cycle here for both Linspire and Xandros. So they explain that Linspire will receive new releases every 16 months, and Xandros would get a 24-month release schedule. And they did this because they build our products on stability rather than shiny and new. As we support school systems and commercial customers, they don't upgrade every 6 months. So, of course, they talk about Linspire 14 Service Pack 2. Xandros 2025.6 is coming in June, apparently. And then Linspire 15 will be released in October based on the 2024.04 LTS, as we usually wait a year for bugs with everything to be worked out on new LTS releases. So they're talking about Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. So yeah, if you're like an end user, it sounds like Linspire is not really going to be the operating system for you. And you may want to check out FreeSpire or just another Linux distro entirely. But it looks like the installation is completed, so we're going to click on Restart Now. And here we are on the desktop. So first thing I want to do is hop into Terminal and just check the version. And yeah, operating system, it looks like it is Service Pack 2, so it did install that. The kernel version is 6.8.0-52 generic. Going into the applications menu, I do want to touch on a couple of things that are in Linspire that we don't see in FreeSpire, mainly because they are closed source applications. One of those is Google Chrome. It is not open source. The project that's based on Chromium is open source. We also, interestingly enough, have Steam. Well, it's not entirely installed on here. You do have to proceed with the installation here. I'll enter in my password. That does not come with FreeSpire, even just the install package. We don't have bundled with that because, once again, it is not open source. But something I found interesting is there are some free and open source applications that are in Linspire that we don't see in FreeSpire. Well, it actually turns out that's not true, because I was using the wrong version of FreeSpire when I was initially doing this demonstration portion of the video. I had downloaded FreeSpire 9 by mistake and not the latest version, which is 10. And I'm going to give myself a partial pass on this because, as it turns out, if you go to the downloads page on the FreeSpire website, as I did, the links they have here are for FreeSpire 9. And you see they have a screenshot of FreeSpire 9 right here, which has in my opinion, a better looking default interface than the current versions of Linspire and FreeSpire do. But if we go back to the home page, under this FreeSpire 10 post is where they have the download links for the actual latest version of the operating system. And you can see, well, this screenshot here looks a lot more like the Linspire install that we were just in, with this same bar here on the bottom. And sure enough, when I installed that in a virtual machine and went through the applications list, all those open source applications that I thought were not in FreeSpire, well, they weren't in FreeSpire 9, and there were other applications in place of them, but they're all here in FreeSpire 10. So the only things that are in Linspire that are not in FreeSpire, in addition to the proprietary codecs, are Midnight Commander, Steam, Google Chrome, and there's a package manager that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. And FreeSpire 9's included browser was Firefox. In 10 here, they changed that to Brave. So yeah, just wanted to quickly mention that and say that if you want to download FreeSpire, make sure you go to the right link on the page to get the latest version. Let's go back into the applications menu and just see what other things that we get on here. So we have the OnlyOffice suite on here instead of something like LibreOffice. This has shown up in a couple videos before. It is open source, so we see this in FreeSpire as well. And something that I like about it is its user interface heavily mimics Microsoft Office. So if you were coming over from Windows, this is a great application to use if you're used to using Microsoft Office, because I mean, just look at how similar that this is. And of course, you've got, Word documents, you've got spreadsheets, presentations, as well as form templates as well. So if we want to do like a PowerPoint thing, we can open this up here. It even uses the PPTX file format, which is rather interesting. Yeah, XLSX for the Excel format, or for the spreadsheet format. And I didn't even see under document. Is it just docx? Yep, it is. Look at that. The interesting thing is that there seems to be like a mixture of GNOME and KDE applications in here. So it's not like they stick with one selection of software. So that's why we have, like, in addition to, the GNOME shell and the GNOME files application and a couple other things, we've got the KDE color paint application. We've got KPatience here under games. This is, if we go to about, yeah, it's just KDE. We also have Dream Chess in here, which I actually have never even seen this before. I don't know if this is, let's dreamchess.org. So this is an open source chess game, and it looks like, yeah, Unicode support on January 23rd, 2023. It sounds like, what is this version? Is this version 0.3? Yeah, it is. This was released in 2019, so this is, I guess it hasn't received any updates in a while, but it is still available. Yeah, there it is, March 18th, 2019. But nevertheless, it is in here. So let's maybe just go to a new game and start one here, see kind of what we got. So yeah, we got a whole 3D thing going on. We can go ahead and make my first move here. Okay, we got some sound effects as well. That's that's actually rather annoying. Do you have to hear that every single time you make a move? Yeah, you do. Okay, can we, are there any, okay, we have to right-click just anywhere in the window. We go to Move Options. Okay, that's not really what I want, though. Are there options, like, for the sound? I guess, or, okay, configuration, maybe. There you go, sound volume. Okay, you can turn that down. Apparently there is music. Oh, gosh, that's, well, that just updated there. And yeah, apparently there is music, but I've not heard anything yet. Yeah, that's Dream Chest, certainly an interesting inclusion. Also, if we go under System Tools here, we've got the Muon Package Manager. This is a KDE application that is essentially an APT front end. And what's interesting about it is currently unmaintained. KDE does not push out updates to this application, and they haven't for a little while now. So this is version 5.8.0. The copyright date is 2009 to 2013. Which doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the release date of the program, but let's see if I can pull up an accurate release date here. Alright, well here's a blog post from KDE Digest, dated March 24th, 2018, talking about the release of version 5.8.0, which came out a few days ago when this was posted. So, yeah, that's a pretty old program, again, you know, to include in here. So I wonder why that they went with this, but yeah, this is where you can download new packages, check for updates, see if there are any updates on here. And you see, yeah, I was curious about the repos that it's pulling from. So yeah, configure software sources. What do we have? Is there like a Linspire specific one? Okay, we've got Ubuntu software. So yeah, canonical supported stuff. So that's all there. Other software. We have, yeah, the Chrome repo for, you know, just the Linux release of Google Chrome. And then we have an option to check the CD-ROM, you know, if you had like an ISO mounted here, which we do not. But check this out. In the applications menu, we also have the KDE Discover application. So I'm wondering if maybe both of these are on here because of Snap and APT, but either way, we've got both of them. So we have two different ways you can gather packages on this system. In fact, let's go to settings here. And, okay, Linspire 14 Service Pack 2 default source. And so we've got the stable main branch of Google Chrome, Steam stable, disk jamming. Yeah, so if we go to software sources, let's see what this pulls up here. That is the exact same thing. So we can go to other software. Yeah, we have the exact same selections in here. But yeah, you've got some featured applications. We can go in here and go to games and, oh yeah, we can get SuperTux. Why not? This is a much more like user-friendly or just, I don't know. I just like this interface better than the other package manager we were just in. But we could totally go back in here to the Muon package manager and, you know, you got categories in here, actually like way more categories, at least just at this, you know, top list here. If you go into applications, maybe they just have these, like they have subcategories in here more, yeah, because you got like different types of games and stuff. Under internet, you've got, yeah, chat, file sharing, mail, and web browsers. But regardless, you can totally go through here and grab packages as you please. We also have a ton of updates here, 145 different packages that we need to update. So we'll go ahead and just do that, update all. And we'll enter in our password. I'm guessing, like, if we go into games here, SuperTux has not shown up. I wonder if maybe that didn't finish installing. Let's do a search here. There was an issue installing this update. Oh no. DPKG was interrupted. You must manually run DPKG configure-A to correct the problem. Alright, let's try that. Super user privilege, of course. Alright, let's run it as sudo. I'm just wondering if maybe they didn't intend for you to use this and you were supposed to use the other package manager. But I guess that did it. So, alright, let's try it again. Oh, yeah, that's totally working now. Because now it's not just freezing at 100%, it's actually going through the list here. Okay, so we got 145 updates to get. Alright, that's done. So now, let's go back here and try to grab SuperTux. Yep, and it looks like that's working. And while we're at it, I saw Plasma in here as a category. Why don't we just try and get the KDE Plasma desktop environment? You got all these components in here, but I just want to get, like, the whole thing. I wonder if this is a default panel featuring application launcher, task manager, and system tray. And yep, now on the login screen, we've got an option for Plasma. So I'm going to choose that. We'll log in. Yeah, there we go. check that out. Now, obviously, you can do all this on other Linux distros as well, so, I mean, this is nothing unique to Linspire by any means. I'm just going to go ahead and log out, actually, and switch back over to the default desktop environment. I'm actually curious to see what other desktop environments we have, because the one that I was in was Linspire. We've got Linspire on Xorg and then GNOME Classic. Let's try out GNOME Classic and see what that looks like. Is this going to be where we have the title bar at the top? Yep, that's exactly what it's going to be. So, but yeah, very similar looking, you know, menu here that we can go into. And yeah, we got SuperTux. We downloaded that, so we can open that up. You know, I have not played this game in years. You know, I think the last time that I played this game was on my iBook G3 clamshell that I got back in 2010. It was like one of the first games that I installed on, and I thought it was like the coolest thing at the time. I've tried, I'm pretty sure I've tried to install this in like other videos on the channel, but I couldn't get it working, or I don't know, maybe it's been a while. But yeah, it's like a, you know, Super Mario Bros. Type platformer game. Just your tux. Isn't that awesome? So, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't really have anything else that I can say about Linspire. I mean, you've been able to see that in terms of, let's just leave out of here and quit this. You've probably been able to see that it is pretty similar to other Ubuntu-based distros in terms of its default user interface and the applications that it comes with. Not entirely, because there were some KDE applications in here as well as GNOME applications. So I haven't really been that impressed with it, but from what I've been able to gather from the website, I'm just not in the target audience for this distro. It sounds like they primarily support corporate and enterprise customers who, you know, want to be able to get support, you know, if they encounter any sort of issues and they want like a more stable environment, I guess. But I feel like you can get that with other Linux distros as well. There are, you know, companies that offer enterprise support. And heck, this copy of Linspire that I bought was the cheapest one that didn't come with any support whatsoever. At least that's what the order page mentioned, because it was the self-support option. On the other hand, there is FreeSpire, and you know, you can download that. That seems to be like it's more for the end user, or what's going to eventually become Linspire Community Edition. But with me personally, and I imagine a lot of other people as well, whenever I install Linux on a system, I always go with one of the mainstream distros like Linux Mint or Ubuntu, you know, one of the distros in that zone. Whereas FreeSpire is relatively unknown. In fact, one of the funny things that I kept noticing when I was doing research for this video were people going, wait a minute, isn't that distro from like 2005? That thing's still around, really? So yeah, it sounds like there were some people that just had no idea Linspire and FreeSpire were still a thing, but they are, and this is what you would get if you decide to purchase Linspire. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.